Yeah, greetings. It's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. I've been asked here to give a big shout out to a guy called Ronnie Fletcher from Reading. So I said I would do that. Hello, Ronnie. Hello, Ronnie. There you go. Shout out for Ronnie Fletcher of Reading. Been in Reading Jail, yeah. In Reading Jail by Reading Town there is a pit of shame. That's an extract from the Ballad of Reading Jail. I never saw a man who looked with such a wistful eye upon that little tent of blue that prisoners call the sky. There you are, that's just off the top of my head. Anyway, I'm going to talk today about the problems of dealing with rape in prison, male rape. And one of the big issues is that it's not so much that that obviously it's disgraceful that these things happen, but you can't get the inmates to testify. They will not say, "Oh yes, that man assaulted me. That man raped me." They tend to want to keep it quiet. Of course, the problem is if they've been actually physically injured during the interaction, then of course they've got to get medical attention. And when I had one case I handled when I was at Strangeways, when I was a hospital officer, the inmate came down and he'd been anally raped by his cellmate, and his cellmate had made him defecate into a newspaper that he then threw out the window to hide the DNA, the semen samples. Disgraceful, I know, but that's what he did, and he was successfully prosecuted, that particular inmate. But the vast majority are not prosecuted because their victims will not testify. At Wormwood Scrubs, the usual thing was they would pay, people who wanted it would pay like male prostitutes amongst the prisoners who would be actively operational. And don't forget, putting an actively homosexual adult male into a male prison, it is like locking somebody who's hooked on sweeties in a toffee shop. Seriously, helping themselves, aren't they? Yeah. Now, I heard a number of people saying, that they'd never heard that Paul Sykes was into buggering young prisoners. That is what I experienced when I was at Strangeways. Not personally experienced it, but a number of inmates advised me that this was going on, but he wasn't getting complaints. Because the thing was, if you did complain about Paul Sykes buggering you, he was going to give you an even more serious scene too. And he was working in conjunction with other people, gangsters, and people. I'm amazed how many gangsters are actually gay for the stay. There was one, as I've told in my book, by the way, which is here, yeah. This is my book, yeah. It tells in there the story of the inmate who was buggering one of the prison governors. And the prison governor was smuggling his letters out and bringing him in drinks of whiskey, which he had in the governor's office with the governor after he'd finished his duty. Euphemistically speaking, of course. So that was happening there. And of course there was the Cambridge rapist who was very much into fellatio. He liked nothing better than filleting his fellow inmates whilst dressed up in a strange homemade dress that he made in his cell. It was a sheet that he'd painted with paints that he'd got from the... He was wearing this dress that he got from, he made out of sheets from his bed and painted them with paint from the art class. He was mad, he was. I mean, he was in for raping women, and next thing you know, he wanted to get himself involved with young prisoners, young male prisoners. And he was telling me that his greatest desire was to change sex, so he wanted to become a female. I mean, have a look at some images of Peter Cook, the Cambridge rapist. He wouldn't have he wouldn't have won any prizes, I'll tell you that. So yeah, and of course, in the Lifers' Wings, they'd pair up, you know. Very often, you know, they get regular relationships going on. So it'd be like on a regular dating basis. But to each their own, you know, not for me. I mean, and if people are that way inclined, I mean, don't forget prisons are difficult enough to deal with without having staff chasing you around for just cuddling up to one of your friends. I certainly wouldn't do it. And it's that time of day, folks. I'm going to read you a poem today. But we've got to have the song dinger. People complain if I don't ding-de-ding-ding, right ding-dong song. So Ronnie Fletcher, are you ready for this? Ronnie Fletcher of Reading. I'm going to read you a poem now. This is a poem that I particularly like. It's about the meaninglessness, the absolute... There is no meaning to actually owning properties and making yourself out to be the great I am. Because in the end it turns to dust. And that's what this poem is about, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. It's called Ozymandias of Egypt. I've got to get my glasses on properly here. I met a traveller from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing besides remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Ozymandias of Egypt by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I sincerely hope you enjoyed today's Tales from the Jails. Do like, subscribe and all the rest of it, and don't forget to get my book, folks. I'm working on the next one. I'm getting up towards nearly 70,000 words now. Should be ready by the end of April. We'll meet again.